So last night we had the Leafs Habs in Toronto again for the last meeting of the year, the 10th meeting of the year. And I fully expected Montreal to come out with a much more concerted effort than the game before because they got a spanking. And they did. The first period they pretty much owned. They controlled the pace. They had lots of zone time, stuff like that. The shots still weren't that bad. It was Leafs didn't have a lot. They couldn't really mount much. It was 7-3 at the end of the first, maybe something like that. So the Leafs did a good job of just kind of hanging on, sort of thing, right? Usually you do that on the road when you weather the home team's kind of assault. But this was kind of reversed because of what happened in the last game, and the Leafs just looked a little flat. You know, pucks were rolling off their sticks, their passing was a little off. They just didn't seem ready to play that game. And like I said, though, it was a low chance period. It was 7-3 for shots. But despite that, the pace was really good. And Montreal did manage to get one past Jack Campbell. It was one of their plug defensemen from the point. Put it through a screen. I think it bounced off Muzzin's arm and went into the net. Nothing Campbell could have done about that. Seeing eye shot through traffic, hitting people, right? That's one of those things that just happens. So after the first period, they were down 1-0, and they needed a bit of a spark. Second period, things didn't look like it was going to go much better as Montreal got their second goal out of the way pretty early. It was Suzuki just on a 2-on-1. He just kept it down the right wing and put one on net. Campbell got a piece of it with his pad, but it just kind of dribbled in afterwards. So I'm sure he would want to have that one back just because he did get it. He just didn't get enough. So bit of bad luck there, but that's the way it goes. And it was 2-0 Montreal. At this point in the second, the Leafs finally started to ramp up a bit. You could see them putting out more of an effort, getting their speed game going, and it was really the third line that I think, even from the outset, they were the one line that was going, and they continued to lead the charge, and that's the line of Mikheyev, Engvall, and Kerfoot. All three guys have a lot of speed. Engvall and Mikheyev both have a lot of size, and that line really just took it to the Habs, and they were the ones that started off getting a bit of momentum going for the Leafs, getting some zone time, and the other lines started to feed off of that. So as the second period rolled on after that second Habs goal, the momentum really started to flip, and with that momentum flip came 3 straight goals by the Leafs. The first one was actually Engvall. He was playing keep away in the Habs zone. He went in behind the net, curled out high into the slot on the right wing, and then just spun and loosed a low wrist shot that just made it through a bunch of traffic and through Allen's wickets for a 2-1 Habs lead suddenly. After that, I believe the next goal was, was it Nylanders that came next? Yeah, I believe it was Nylanders. Yeah, it was Nylanders' goal that came next. And it was kind of, the Leafs were controlling in the Habs zone, but it was kind of scrambly. They were kind of, the Habs were pressing, so the Leafs were having to move the puck quickly, and it was kind of one of those scrambly kind of plays. It came back to, I think, maybe Hall at the left point, and he just put a quick wrist shot on net that Tavares actually tipped, but he didn't get it on net. He tipped it to the side of the net to the right of Jake Allen, and Nylander was there, Johnny on the spot. Bing! 2-2 game. Not much longer, off of a face-off in the Montreal zone to the right of Allen at the left dot. The Leafs were setting up for a face-off with Matthews taking the draw with the top line out there, and earlier on the bench they showed Matthews and Marner in a really engaged discussion, pointing, like sorting things, strategy out on the ice. And I don't know if it was pertaining to this particular type of situation, but Matthews won the draw right to Marner. He teed up a wrist shot that beat Allen perfectly on the blocker side, high, right inside the post and crossbar. And that was a 3-2 Leaf lead all of a sudden. So all of the ebullience and joy that the Habs were showing for their 2-0 lead was fucking erased. Erased in a heartbeat. And it brought joy to my heart. So, third period. Leafs, most teams fall into this defensive shell in the third period if they're nursing a lead. And a lot of the times it ends in disaster because when you're nursing a lead, you fall into a more defensive posture, which you allow the other team into your zone and to do more than if you're also pressing the attack the other way. So Now you try and survive on that bend but don't break defensive mentality in your own zone, but oftentimes it doesn't work, especially late. They pull the goalie, get an extra guy, and score, right? So the Leafs on this night didn't really. It's a hard cycle to break, but last night they kind of broke it. I didn't see them fall as much into that kind of defensive shell, and the third period was actually a pretty good period with probably the fastest pace throughout the whole game, which it was a really fast game. So now the Habs did get a chance to pull their goalie with just over, I think, 2 minutes left. But then they took a penalty, which kind of evened things out, and the Leafs sealed the 3-2 victory comeback. And yeah, it just goes to show that these two teams, Toronto is so much better that even with a crappy start and the Habs taking control and getting up 2-0, the Leafs just have to get their shit together and go, okay, no, let's not lose this fucking game. Let's go out and win it. And they go out and win it. Like, that's the difference between these two teams and how much better one is than the other. And they were showing these stats about, Montreal has the most hits in the league and the most whatever in the league. And yeah, there's a difference between a hit and finishing your check, like where you just kind of lazily kind of staple a guy against the boards at the end of a hit after he's moved the puck and it doesn't even fucking do anything. It's ineffectual. That's what Montreal reminds me of. Yeah, they have a ton of hits, but they're mostly ineffectual. You don't see the big hits that actually cause any fucking damage or put any fear into anybody, right? So, okay, first in hits, but are they really, And it was funny because the Leafs were 31st in hits, 31st in the next hit category. I forget what it was. But the last category was puck battle wins or whatever. Montreal was third in the league. The Leafs were fourth. So that just goes to show that, you can go and hit the Leafs all you want, but you're still going to lose the puck battle most likely, right? Like the hitting doesn't bother them. Take a run. Go for it, right? It showed in a little while back during that 2-game Winnipeg set when Winnipeg tried to take the fight to the Leafs and they just ended up hurting all the Jets, right? Like, so these hit category stats are maybe they don't matter so much, right? So now they're probably setting all that up as these two teams are seen bound to meet in a first round playoff series. So, trying to set the stage and stuff. But yeah, I just think with both teams fully healthy, with both teams with similar types of injuries, it doesn't matter. The Leafs are far better, and over a 7-game series, I'm fully expecting the Leafs to win, but this is why they play the games, because upsets can happen, shit can happen, and if shit does happen in this first round series, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. But I'm getting ahead of myself because we still have to sort out over the last 2 or 3 games here who's sitting where. It looks like it's determined by now, but if one team goes on a run, the other team goes on a skid, you never know what can happen. So, but here's to hoping for a first round Leafs Habs series, and we will find out soon enough. So until the next game, have a great rest of the weekend.